So, guys, did you know that apparently chess is one of the sports with biological advantages for men? Because I was not aware of that. That doesn't make any sense to me. But apparently it is. Apparently it's one of those things. That's weird. That's weird to me. It feels like a lie. That feels like a giant lie. But I guess we'll see.
Senpai.
Hi, Agamotto. Thank you for the 500 bits. I guess we'll find out what what this is and why here in a bit. So, before we do that, though, let's go ahead and get into the fan art section. Because, holy shit, we got some stuff to cover today, and it's weird. So, the very first piece of fan art we have here is from Axo. Says, get shrimped. Lazy drawing, by the way. Yeah, even when your drawing's lazy, it looks really good. Weird. The next one we have here is from Junior Jedi. I had to. For context, this is a game in which you are given a word to draw, and people try to guess the word. Draw a washing machine with slime Suris in it. Okay. Weird. Weird. The next one we have here is from the Fluffy B1, Male Witch Suris. And then a normal one and a slime one, because of course, there has to be. As always, everybody, thank you all for your fan art submissions. If you want your fan art to be shown in a future video, the best way to do so is to drop it into the fan art section of the Discord. With that said, hit the like button, subscribe, all the other fun stuff. But, yeah, apparently, fucking cis women are different in chess than cis guys, which is why there's women's chess and men's chess, I guess. Somehow. I don't know how that works, but the only way I figured out about this, okay, because I'm a nerd, but I'm not quite that nerd. I figured out about this because there's this lovely little post here from the FIDE, okay? The following restrictions have been shall be applied to any player after the change of the gender in their FIDE ID. In the event that the gender was changed from male to female, the player has no right to participate in official FIDE events for women until further FIDE's decision is made. Such decision should be based on further analysis and shall be taken by the FIDE Council at the earliest possible time, but not longer than within 2 years of a period. I guess I can just wait 2 years then. That's weird. Huh. There are no restrictions to play in the open section for a person who has changed gender. So, open section hasn't changed at all, but I would imagine it wouldn't because open section... What? Why? Why is this a thing? Why is it? Why are they just like, yes, you changed your gender. That changed everything about you. You get separated in chess now. You get separated in chess now. Why? Why is that a thing? That doesn't make any sense to me. Can somebody... Is this the stupid chess discourse? Yeah, I guess it's the stupid chess discourse. I guess we're into discourse now. It just... If we look at the actual, like, post here, right? If we look at some of the posts on this on Twitter, it sounds like they're saying women's titles are for women. No, that's not quite what that means, but okay. Women's titles are for women, but trans women are women. I had an enorming reading comprehension failure and thought they'd produced a list of anti-trans regulations passed by governments and said those were the biggest threat to women in chess. Like, as FIDE, we disapprove of Florida or something. So chess is just checkers. Hello, Saki. How are you doing, hun? How are you doing? But also trans men get stripped of their titles before transition. Yeah, that's another thing that I saw here, is that if a player holds any of the women's titles, but then the gender is changed to man, their women's titles are supposed to be abolished. But, like, okay. So this is confusing. So if a dude, or a person who believed they were a dude at one point, if they transition to a girl, they are not allowed to gain a woman's title. But conversely, if somebody is born a woman and they transition to dude, well, now their titles are to be stripped from them because they can't properly hold a woman's title because that doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Can somebody make this make sense to me? Please, somebody make this make sense to me. The International Chess Federation, please. Governing body of chess. Why is there a governing body of chess? Governing body of chess, make this make sense. Make this make sense. Anubian says chess is a male-dominated niche that is rife with sexism. It feels so confusing, right? Like, we're going to be trans-inclusive when ripping your titles away from you. But we're not going to be trans-inclusive when it comes to gaining your titles. Sarah Chigarita says, it sounds like it's about sex, but then you really read it, it's just about owning the transes. Yeah, that's why it's confusing, because, like, if they wanted to make it about sex, then the players who held titles as women, who transitioned, would maintain their titles. But they're not. I know I'm floundering on this one, but that's because I just have no concept. I just have no concept for this. That doesn't make any sense to me. So a lot of countries dominant in chess are Eastern European and very anti-trans. Said, why does it sound like a bad fanfic? It's like saying the part out loud, right? Punish the people who gained a title in women's chess when they transition. Punish them for transitioning. And oh, by the way, if you transition the other way around, if you transition, from male to female, then punish them too by making sure that they don't get to compete in the other space. Basically, only cis women in the women's space and anybody else in the open space is what it's seeming, which just feels transphobic. So unless the chess pieces weigh 100 times more for the men's game than the women's, then chess isn't a sport and this isn't necessary. It just... the Federal International des X, or however you say it. The International Chess Federation. But I guess TICF didn't sound as good. I guess so. Said some people are like, but to womans get intimidated by the man. They won't play at their best. Bullshit. Bullshit. So chess is a very unique case because there is an open league and a women's league, ruling still anti-trans BS. Right, so like the usual way you hide behind something like this, right? The usual way you hide behind something like this is to go, oh, well, we're trying to protect the integrity of women's sports. That's usually the hideaway, right? That's the cloak and dagger that gets used to be anti-trans when talking about sports. Because it's really easy to do that, right? Because it's really easy to get people on your side. It's really easy to get feminists on your side, for instance, when you do that. How do you think TERFs became a thing? How do you think TERFs exist? Because it's very easy to get a TERF on your side by cloaking your transphobia in a bout of, oh, we're just protecting things that are supposed to be for, quote, women. But that's not what this is. That's not what this is. This is only aimed exclusively at trans people. You cannot get affected by this unless you are trans. Because if you are male to female, then you are affected by this because you cannot compete in the women's league. But if you're female to male, then you are affected by this because you can be stripped of your titles if you earned any. That doesn't make any fucking sense. It's like the only aspect they're hitting is the trans one. Which shouldn't be the case. Again, you usually cloak and dagger it by hiding behind the protecting women's sports thing. That way you're like, I'm not transphobic, I'm just protecting women's sports. I'm protecting the integrity of it. And then, this happens, and it's confusing, and it's impossible to actually do anything with it. I don't know. The only trans-inclusive thing they will do is when it negatively affects a trans person, I guess. So the reason trans women can't get titles is because they're not real women to them, is to make them earn man titles. No, I understand. That's why I'm saying, like, because of the specific way it's working, it only looks like the point is transphobia. Being applauded by people who, with opinions like this, he follows Andrew Tate, obviously. Making an assumption that women are equal to men when it comes to chess? Shouldn't the women-only tournaments be removed completely? Problem solved. If that's not the case, I wouldn't like my fellow chess women to share the... I wouldn't like my my fellow chess women to share the fate of USA female swimmers. You mean USA women's swimming that is still dominated by cis women and probably always will be by just sheer matter of raw numbers? Okay. Sure. Cool. Why not? So this is likely to be illegal in many countries? Not sure. So I just read it again. It says that trans men will be stripped of all titles they won in women's competitions when they get transitions. That's absolutely batshit. It's uninformed, gross sexism and transphobia. I mean, it's just transphobia. Like, having an open league and then a women's league, it feels weird to begin with, but then this is only affecting trans people. I'm receiving 10 million tweets asking why there are separate gender categories for chess in the first place. The honest answer is I have no idea because I don't follow chess. So Nubian says biological advantage is hogwash. I mean, for chess it is. There is a biological advantage when it comes to actual sports, like sports that involve, being physical on a team, but those advantages get compensated for with HRT, because it turns out that those advantages are gained almost in their entirety by the hormones that your body is producing. And when you make sure that the testosterone levels in the body go down for a certain amount of time, and then you make sure that the estrogen levels go up for a certain amount of time, they can measure that. We've been measuring it in the Olympics for years, and the measurable outcome of that is going, oh, well, hold on, actually, this looks very girl. They can compete in the girls' team. Because all of the aspects that are... It's like that video I made. It's like that video I made like 3 years ago, where I said, hey, maybe the best thing you can do is isolate the actual biological divides that you want, and then divide on those things. The Olympics is already kind of doing that, but also having gendered categories at the same time. But anyway, said perceived fundamental performance differences. This one's been done to death. Obviously, it's not as simple as men have performance X and women have performance Y. Providing separate space for women sports. Most sports are male-centric, and so it's harder for women to get into them and feel welcome. So sports will often create female-specific categories for this reason. Protecting men. At Barcelona in 1992, a woman won gold at the mixed skeet shooting, suggesting it was possible for men and women to compete fairly. At Atlanta in 96, there was a women's skeet shooting and a separate men's one. Go figure. And then unthinking tradition, probably more prevalent than people think. A lot of people just unthinkingly segregate, even when there's no real reason to do so. Yeah. So wait, isn't chess co-ed? Like, I was in the chess club in high school. If everything was co-ed, it would solve a lot of these issues. Yeah, it would. But this whole thing confuses me. The person goes here like, men and women are wired differently. And Anthony Lee Ho, do you want to be more specific? Because wired differently doesn't really mean anything. Yes, having your brain washed in testosterone will make you operate differently in some ways than when your brain is washed in estrogen more often, when you're younger. But that doesn't mean anything in this context. You can't just say wired differently and hope that people know what you're talking about. They largely won't. Blue check opinion discarded. Said, sir, I am wired differently. That doesn't make me worse at chess. I need someone to explain to me in detail why women need an individual league in a game of skill and intelligence, and what possible advantage being assigned male at birth could grant you in playing chess. Like, this whole thing, the whole thing is wild to me. It doesn't make any sense. And again, I know I'm just harping on the whole thing, but why? Like, why was any of this necessary? Why was this a thought in the back of somebody's brain to do? Who sat down at the conversations for chess sports and decided, yeah, no, this is the way we're going forward. This is how we're doing it. And I said, it just makes me go, mommy at the queen piece. I'm told I will be more emotional and cry easier when I start. Red Joker, though, that doesn't have as much to do with getting woman hormones and being on woman hormones as it does to do with the fact that the hormones make you go through puberty again. You're going to go through puberty again. Do you remember how much you cried on puberty? You're going through puberty again. Also, queen better than all the pieces. Hey. Hey now. My pawn can be anything he wants to be when he grows up. Even your queen. If anything, HRT made me a better tactician as I wasn't battling depression. Move mommy to E4. Jesus Christ. Jimmy Allen says, the open and women's systems make sense once you know that like only 1% of chess players were women before the women's league, and today they're less than 10%. Also, the top field is even more dominated by men. There is no women in the top 100 of chess. But the question then becomes, why are there no women at the top level of chess? I understand making the league so as to create more women chess players. Sure, I can understand that. But then why is it just cultural that's causing that? Like, less women sit there and take time to learn that game at that level because it's just not a cultural expectation? Is that what's going on there? It also begs the question, what happens when you take the top-performing woman in chess and you pit her against the top-performing man in chess? Is it just that, like, you created this secondary league where everybody is battling against each other in that league, and so they can only get as good as the other players in that league, and then the open league just... They don't move over? Instead, I thought it was kinky because there were already various types. I think they were emperors. Oh, the queen piece wasn't actually the queen back then? I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. Like, this is one of those things where just I don't know enough about chess as a sport. I know chess, right? I can play chess at a somewhat okay level, right? I can tell you all the rules of chess. I can sit down and play a game fairly competently for a while. I know how to do attrition. But if you ask me, like, when is an opportune time to castle, I'll probably knock my head to the side and go, I thought 2 turns ahead. That was about as far as I got. Jimmy Ann says, history, culture, and statistics. Chess is one of the most professionalized sports since it was a big thing in the Cold War. Okay, so, Jim Anion. History, culture, and statistics. So, history, what does that mean here? Culture, what does that mean here? And statistics, what are we talking about here? Like, those could all very well 100% be reasons that we see the numbers of women in chess that we do, but without anything behind them, without anything supporting those words, they don't mean a whole lot to me here. Like, if the history of chess is that it is male-dominated historically, then okay, that makes sense. But I would need that extra context. Ninja Story says that my takeaway from this is that we need a Suris-themed chess set. Vice Rhino can be white. My god. Have you tried Googling en passant? No. Why would I Google that? Why would I Google that? So the shape of a knight got me acting different, or maybe I've been spending too much time in Vosh's streams. Imposter is a chess rule. The capture by a pawn of an enemy pawn of the same rank in an adjacent file that has made initial 2-square advance. Oh, yeah, no, I have no idea what that thing is. Weird pawn capture thing? Huh. But no, I am waiting for a I'm waiting for a follow-up real quick on the history history thing from Jermaine. It said possibly a combination of cultural expectations and the fact that top women's players rarely move into open unless particularly well paid. Ara, your monster allows out. I don't know. It just feels like a weird decision to make. Not the making a woman's chess thing. That one, I guess, makes sense. If it's been male-dominated for long enough and you wanted to have more women participate in the sport, that would be a way to do it. So the numbers and ranking of women are continually increasing since the founding of the Women's League. But chess still has a long way to go. Okay, so when you said statistics, you're basically meaning that there has not been enough time since the Women's League has been made for everything to catch up, right? So, like, we expect those numbers to come closer to equilibrium the longer that it exists, is what you're basically saying. As in, chess, while professionalized, doesn't pay very well unless you win a lot. I mean, that's how most professional one-on-one competition things are, really. Like, unless you're on a team that's highly televised and not niched, then you don't tend to get paid a whole lot. It's why, like, professional Magic the Gathering isn't really a thing anymore outside of streaming. Like, your professional players don't make their money off of tournaments anymore. They make their money off of streaming because they can't make their money off of tournaments. It's impossible to make enough money off of tournaments anymore. You can't just rely on winning tournaments back to back to back to pay the bills. This encourages women's players to stay in women's league competition. Well, and while that's fair, that still makes it confusing that you wouldn't allow trans women into them, but then strip trans men of their titles? It's like the only women they want to favor are cis women, period. Or otherwise make trans men make a choice between their titles and being happy with transitioning. It just feels weird and wrong. Like, can you imagine if somebody just transitioned completely? Like, they went 2-3 years on HRT, they got top surgery, they got bottom surgery, they got phalloplasty, they got everything. But the one thing they wouldn't do is change their gender marker so that they could maintain having all of their stuff for their competitions. Like, I imagine there's going to be somebody who loopholes it like that, kind of like how gay couples used to have to adopt each other in order to receive the same benefits that cis people got with marriage. That'd be my guess. But anywho, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This has been a confusing one, a meandering episode where I get confused about a world that I've scratched the surface of, but never, ever, ever want to get so deep in that I know what en passant is. Hit the like button if you haven't already, subscribe if you haven't already, and as always, everybody, insert end the video tagline here.